Okay.
Cool.
All right. Welcome, Nathaniel Flick, to the Human CV.
Thank you very much.
And,
thanks so much, Jen.
This has been one of those meetings or conversations that starts with we don't really know each other. We have never met in person. It's the first time ever. And there has been a lot of little internet interactions. So whether you would comment on my Instagram or LinkedIn post, or we would message each other about a topic we found both inspiring. But that was all. And now you're sitting here. So what was your first emotion, feeling, process when you prepared the homework for here, this Human CV?
Oh, really good. I mean, there were some insights in there that I hadn't really recognized about myself yet. There was some confirmation also. And I think following you on social media, I really gravitate towards the sort of the presentational aspect that you bring, facilitation, that sort of thing. I mean, I really enjoy doing that. In fact, I'm more sort of behind the scenes almost, where I'm trying to get everyone else to talk and communicate. So it's interesting being on the other side, you know? Bass player by trade, so I'm always sort of, holding the groove down and all that.
Not the one who gets the bras thrown
at
you, more in the background, making sure everybody's in the same vibe.
Yeah, people think, oh, you're a musician, you must love the spotlight. And it's more about making people feel good and bringing people together that I'm all about, right?
So what would music be without bass?
It would be bottomless. Pretty much.
You bring the bottom to the music then.
Yeah, exactly. I think it alerts people to where the groove is and sort of when to jump up and down and when to. It drives home the feeling of the music, you know, and the message.
So if you could either remove the drummer or the bass player from a song, where's that going to get you? You've done it?
Yeah. Well, I think both can take the place of the other marginally somehow. So like a bass player can play more percussively and then pretend to be the drummer. And you're always pretending to be the drummer anyway. And the drummer wants to be more melodic a lot of the time too. Like, hey, I can write songs too, you know, which is true. Plenty of drummers. Phil Collins, he's a great example. You know?
Right.
So so there's it's like two people, but you're sharing the same role and you're overlapping a lot. So
When did you discover this love for bass playing or music in general?
Yeah.
Maybe you started with another instrument first, I don't know.
Young kid, I've got a coffee table at home, and my mom had Miles Davis Kind of Blue album on the table, and I'm there basically barely able to walk, and I'm next to this album, right? And so she would play music in the house and had a piano, and I would just sort of plunk around and discover things, you know, by ear. So it started there, but then became a teenager, and I was doing a lot of swimming and water polo and things. And around 15, my brothers started playing guitar, so I can't be left behind there. He's my twin, so we're really close. We're fraternal. So that got me started, and I said, well, what should I play? I don't want to play the same thing as him. He's playing guitar, and so I picked up bass because no one else was doing that. So, and then I just gravitated into that, and it's been a great journey.
Do you still get to play together these days?
No,
every now and then?
He's in California. Yeah, so a long way away. But I saw him last year.
He couldn't handle the competition, eh?
He's like, hey, could you go to another country?
Get out of my radius.
I need some space,
My stage.
That's so I've been
cool.
a bit of a wanderer, so that's what brought me here. So.
Right. Oh, so where else have you been wandering?
Lots of different places. So,
okay.
Spent 2 years with the family traveling. It was my wife's dream. And so she got us all ready to go. And around 2015, we started selling things and getting ready. And I had a digital business that I still have. And I was building websites and doing stuff that way. And there was a whole thing called Digital Nomad that was very new at that time. So she and I got ready, my wife and I and my kids, and we even practiced. We got our backpacks on and walked around, and in the summer, and it was really hot, and everyone was like, "Oh, this is, good practice for that." And so then we just launched, and we just said, we've got some money. We're going to go to the first country and try this for a year, and if we can make it a year, then maybe we'll make it 2 years.
Cool.
So we went to Norway and then Latvia first.
Right.
Yeah.
An unusual choice for an English-speaking Kiwi.
Yeah.
Norway is not the most. But they speak English there.
It's beautiful.
So
it's beautiful,
kids,
but really expensive there.
Yes.
But and it was summertime, so the sun was up all the time.
How old were your children when you started that journey?
Yeah, they were 6 and 9 when we started. We knew if we went too late and they were in high school. they would have really fought us on it, you know. We've got friends, we can't do this, yeah.
But 6 and 9 is beautiful. Yes, you take them out of some of the friendships they have formed in that age. However, it's a whole different experience that school cannot bring them in those rich colors and those flavors that they had. And then so Norway, and then it went on to Latvia, and then further.
Yep. So then we went to Estonia, and then I think we went to Belgium. After that, did a house sit, and those house sits you take care of a pet and a house for someone who needs to go on holiday or otherwise can't be there. Beautiful place. You know, you go into a house that is so nice that you almost feel like you don't belong there. It was one of those. Yeah. But he was so welcoming and amazing, and that his dog was a Briard named Mew. And Mew responded to Dutch commands in Dutch, so schleppen and zit, and you know, so you learned a bit of Dutch so that you could tell her, you know,
tell the dog what
to do. Yeah, yeah, and and part of it too was financial. So we wanted to go to countries that were a bit cheaper. So Germany and France were, you know, off the list.
Bit dodgy.
Yeah,
for budget-conscious travelers.
Yeah.
Like, nah.
Yeah. So I mean, Latvia was like, I have a real romantic view of Latvia because it was kind of tough.
Yeah.
You know, it was our first real other country that we had been to, and very much different language. Latvian is a very specific language, and we even had some experiences, lots of wonderful experiences, but some were like, you're not from here, you can't have these oranges, you know, that are on display. These are for people that I know and things like that. But, you know, you tend to take those things personally sometimes. You know, you think like, oh, it must be because we're not from here, or, you know, you take it on the chin. But we learned from that it wasn't necessarily that. You know? So that really kind of set the scene and toughened us up a little bit and made us more aware of, you know, where we were.
And this was a whole, like 2 years. For 2 years as a family, you were like nomads.
Yeah.
And you were able to run your business on the side, make some money while you're traveling and learning how to say, you know, sit in Dutch to a dog. That's so cool.
That's right.
What would you say is I kind of want to ask about your kids also, but then bring the conversation back to what you learned from that time. But what were some of the biggest things your children took away from those 2 years?
I think they now really miss it, and they have perspective on it. I think while they were there, they were themselves somewhere else. And so what that means is we'd go to a museum and they might be a little bit bored, but then we'd have to turn it around somehow. So we'd say, look for the toes in the paintings.
Right.
So, you know, Venus de Milo, look at her feet. How did the painter paint her feet?
Yeah.
And so that would keep them engaged, and then my wife and I could just take in this beauty and, you know, just wax lyrical and not bore them, you know? But now in class, like my son, who's still in school, they'll talk about a country and he'll realize more often than not he's been there. Like Belgium, we've been to Belgium and Bulgaria and other places. Yeah. So yeah, it's an awareness of how far they've been already in the world. Yeah. So their options are a lot more open. Yeah. So
now your children are almost grown up, as in, you know, you can leave them alone without worrying. So would you do this journey again, maybe with your wife, and then go for, you know, other perspectives you haven't had? Or what's the future plan for that?
Yeah, the wife's chomping at the bit. Yeah, and I would love to do it too. Yeah. I mean, it was so freeing. Yeah. It was so freeing where we were working and teaching the kids, so it wasn't like all the time we were tourists, you know. We were quite busy, and that's where I think my getting up early started. Was you'd work from 5 to 10 in the morning, teach the kids to about 1, 2 o'clock, and then you had the afternoon. Yeah. And you could go walking around. You're in Rome.
Playtime.
Go, in Florence. Go to the Uffizi. It was just around the corner.
Watch their bass players on the streets.
Yeah. That's right.
Yeah.
So the main problem I had with it before going, I felt like, well, how can I work in an amazing place and not want to be outside and be enjoying it, you know? Then I finally realized that having the balance, I was setting myself up for some really great experiences, you know? And so that's what made it a dream for me also, you know, and what finally convinced me to do it.
Yeah, I would love to go in on this topic because there is so much going on with your environment in which you work shapes how you create, how you produce, even how free you feel, how creative you feel. So sometimes when it comes to the psychology of coaching, we are taking the managers to, let's say, a rooftop bar to have that really 360 perspective, the higher view, zooming out, what's the long distance plan? And then if you really want to go the detail, the deep dives, the how do the puzzle pieces actually slot in well, you usually go into a more cave basement vibe venue that is a bit more enclosed, where the focus becomes on what's directly in front of me, not, over yonder. So when you had to, because I've done this nomadic thing for a while too, with all its ups and downs, what did you learn about yourself when it comes to your own discipline? Like you already hinted at the 5 to 10 were my slots. Like, do you have some ways in which you create your work environment to serve you? Are you, headphones and going on? Do you have a playlist you use? Like, what are your tricks?
It's funny, being a musician, I have to not listen to music, because if I do, it distracts me.
Yeah.
I'm like, oh, what are they doing? What are they playing? And then my work disappears.
Yeah.
Which is...
The music becomes the work then.
Yeah. I get completely distracted. So having a nice quiet place to sit is really helpful.
Wow.
And also, I do sort of I'm a list maker, but then that can trap me too. Like, oh, I've got too many things on my list. How am I ever going to get through this, all of it? And so 3 things. Like write down 3 things. I'll even do it the night before. Say, what do I want to do tomorrow?
Nice.
So yeah, write down 3 things, and then I get through those and I feel accomplished.
Yeah.
And no matter how much I did of each thing, at least if I did something on those things,
right.
I try to make them bite-sized so I can actually get them done, but sometimes you can't.
And you probably learned from being burnt, like those heavy, long to-do lists would just weigh on you, and then you just obsess over, oh, I didn't do number 17 today, I'm a loser.
Yeah, it's like, a failure again.
Yeah.
And I've had discussions with people, and they think, oh, you're making too many lists, man. Just just relax. It's cool,
Yeah.
But for me, it's I've found a balance between like too many lists and lists that actually help me. Because we were talking before about going on tangents and things, and the internet is great for that, where you just find an avenue and you go down it and you learn something and realize 2 hours has gone by and you haven't done those 3 things that were on your list.
And you realize how much is out there that you don't know, and you feel really small.
Yeah,
like, oh my God, I have to read all the books now to actually keep up, but there is no such thing.
Yeah. Well, it's inspiring to me. It's like being in those places too, like Florence, and the Medici family and Da Vinci, and all the art and creativity that came out of those places and still resonates.
They did all of that without having a phone or an app or anything to ask ChatGPT how to calculate things.
Yeah, I was even reading about Da Vinci, and even he would say about himself, he's like, I'm very easily distracted.
Yeah.
And that's kind of heartening. Like, where I find, like, I have some goals and I end up doing other things a lot of the time.
Yeah.
And then to try to get myself back to that thing that I know when I look back is going to be inspirational to me.
Yeah.
And when I finish it, it might be a really big thing, like a book or an album of music. I try to keep myself on track that way, knowing that there were other people. I'm not a Da Vinci, I'm not going to say that. But, people who are creative deal with those things.
Yeah, because it reminded me when you mentioned briefly about the War of Art, one of my favorite books. Like when I read that, it really clicked for me. And so the list making you speak about, I've seen some extremely successful people who keep using lists, so it works for them. And then, like you said, there's those who have too many and stuff. Now, when it comes to decision making, though, so I teach something that's called a decision matrix, which is not a list. But some people that are list makers, if they have to make a tough choice, like, am I going to take my family and myself and a backpack and just go off for a year or 2 and live from what I can earn on the road? Like, they would write a pro and con list. Yeah. Do you still do these things in list form, the decision making, or have you developed an additional process to, say yes or no to the hard, big questions?
It's funny, I'm laughing because we named my kids with spreadsheets.
No.
Yeah. So it's not quite that
Can you talk me through the process?
Yeah. So my thoughts on this were, I love my grandma, and her name was Alpha. And I said, if I had a daughter, I'm going to name her Alpha. And my wife agreed. Said that's pretty cool. And if it's a son, then she gets to name it. So our first child was my daughter, and so of course, hi Alpha. As soon as she came into being, hello Alpha, how are you? And then the next one was, okay, it's my wife's turn to name. And we're looking at boy names because Alpha was simple because I had a really strong attachment to that name already. And so we made a list, and we're thinking, what are names that are not easy to make fun of or rhyme with awkward things, a name that would have meaning for them and us as well.
Yeah, you don't want to go with beta because then
Yeah.
you just set them up for a
Exactly.
siblings fight.
Omega, yeah, that's a little too on the edge. Yeah, yeah, exactly. So like some meaning and some balance, and like it belongs in the family, and maybe has some historical significance in our family. So, but yeah, the sheet kind of helps us throw some things out that we know that are obviously not.
All the name options, the contenders on one side, and then your values or what you had in the other?
Just yes, no.
Oh, just yes, no.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, there was a lot of thinking behind the yes, no, but it was more like one name, for example, was Hector, and Hector is a sort of a Greek name. We don't have any Greek lineage. It's sort of a strong, powerful name, but we almost felt like it's not going to really fit.
And in New Zealand, if you considered this to be your base, Hector is the Hector Dolphins. What else do I associate with it, right? So you
exactly.
want to have a good name.
You better
that
be a
fits
good swimmer if your name's Hector. So it's almost using a list to just help you stay focused, and so we've eliminated those names and not those. I don't make a list for everything, but like sometimes important decisions I do. So either pro, con, or yes, no.
Yeah. So then doing this was kind of easy for you because you just had to answer a bunch of questions. However, when it came to the sustainable development goals, there was a list of 17 and you had to make your choice. Do you do like bubble sorting or what's your process there?
Then I go with my gut, to be honest, So if I see something, I go, justice,
if it jumps out at you, you're like,
that's a pretty easy decision for me.
Yeah.
And then I think what else did I mention? Gender diversity. And not even just gender equality, but equality across the board.
Yeah.
I don't see why that's such a difficult subject for some people.
Isn't it like the normal way humans should think?
I mean, I walk through life going, I can learn something from you no matter what. No matter what your circumstance. You know?
Where are you currently seeing, whether in your life or in your children's life, where equality should be respected more, but it's not? Because you clearly chose it because it's not clear that everybody is equal and we include males, females in everything. Like, where do you see it the most? Where does it frustrate you a lot? Or
okay, I think in work, I see it. Yeah, I mean, we talk a lot about pay inequity, and
what's your industry?
Oh, my industry, so design and software, and it's a very male-dominated industry, to be honest, and that's changing slowly. There's quite a few women entrepreneurs, female entrepreneurs in New Zealand. There's a real network forming now, which is amazing, and even the investors are looking at that as a market, a really viable one, because that's a huge swath of the planet.
It blows my mind because when you actually look at traditional role boxes, models that we shape children into, it's often the females that get pushed to arts, crafts, making things pretty, fashion, design, these things. When it though comes to software, technology, and designing apps, designing software, designing things that people want to interact with, it's male-dominated. Where does that switch happen? Do you have an idea?
I think the founders are often male. So I think it starts there. And I know companies, as they grow, they tend to hire familiarity.
Yes.
So there's a certain style of person that works at a particular company. That's their culture. And so then they perpetuate that and look for that. So and that can repeat. That pattern repeats. So it's hard to break out of that. But I think you look past someone, maybe how they look or how they appear, and you try to look a little deeper.
Just go by strength.
Which is what you're doing. Which is what I love. Is like you're looking at what's the person's personality. What are their proclivities? What are their affinities? What are they looking for? Trying to make it a two-way street instead of we have a role and you must fit this. I think it takes more courage to try to make both kind of blend together.
Thank you. Yes, I think the issue that I had was, which became even clearer to me as I was working in recruitment for a little bit. Was, like you said, there is this thing of we hire people who are like ourselves, and therefore we shape this very homogeneous, totally non-diverse group of people who hopefully work all like the boss works, which is a recipe for disaster. Especially as how industries are changing so much more rapidly these days. Jobs that your kids will do, you've never heard of. So I was like, your skills are universal. For me, the highest value is often what is multifunctional, multi-purpose, universal, able to be picked up very quickly. These are my core values. So if I, plunk everything into my decision matrix, should I do this project or that? And at the top, I have my values. Is it simple? Is it universally accessible? Is it easy to teach or replicate? So I have these things in my head when I do stuff. And I wanted something that lasts. And if you just say to me, hey, I'm this title and I've worked for Google or whatever, if I don't know Google, there goes your bragging points, right? You have nothing really to go oomph.
Right,
but if
right.
you share with me who you are, and then my company, as I said, things change so quickly, the company will change, maybe different products, different services. And can I still keep my people though? Can I still, if I love who you are and what you bring to my team and how you fit in and how you create your work, maybe you joined me and initially we made typewriters and now we no longer make typewriters, we make computer keyboards.
Yep.
And so I still want to have that person that I invested time, money, and emotional connection. And so that's how how this came up. It's like, what lasts longer? What's universal? So yeah.
I identify with that quite a lot. Yeah.
So you design apps and software. How do I have to imagine a typical day in your current role?
Well, a lot of it has to do with who's using it and why and what do they want to do. Yeah. So those things are universal.
Right.
No matter how complex the technology might get, or we add AI into the mix or not, it still comes back to who's actually using the thing.
Yeah. And how can you make it equal, right? How can many cultures, genders, ages approach that thing that you're building?
Yeah, and accessible to people with disabilities. And
100%.
Yeah. So I have a real focus on that too. It's like who's using it and what difficulties do they have,
Yeah.
I mean, I even look at I've got astigmatism, which is pretty common, right? As you get older.
Yeah.
And I'm like making the text bigger on my computer, increasing the font size. And if you build an app that can do that well, then you're helping someone like me who needs that.
Such a good comment, because I had a little stint working for the university in Canterbury, and one of our projects, I was in the project management office there, and one of our very expensive projects was it to not only redo the university's website, but to also change the content management system behind it. So a monster task to do it well, because all the departments want to have a say, and that button should be purple. I'm like, no, we're not doing these discussions here.
I mean, I like that.
But I like that Comic Sans font. It's like, oh. So
not quite UC.
Yeah, but the thing that you brought up with astigmatism, for example, or accessibility, I had no idea of some of those requirements. And now everything I do since that job, even funny side thing, I'm not sponsored by them or anything, but I went back to using Trello as an organization tool for my stuff, because the others like Notion and whatever, they do not offer the colorblind mode, so the labels can be displayed in different patterns to help colorblind or not fully color aware people to navigate with ease. And I'm like, I love that. It's so cool. So if developers thought more about the human journey through an app or a software, life would be more equal, more gender equality and diversity respected. So when you look at some of the projects that you've worked on, can you share one that you really enjoyed working on and what you created?
From an accessibility standpoint? Or
just
helping
creators,
people?
Geeking out on usability, whatever floats your boat.
Okay. Yeah. I think I'm going to talk about Good Shepherd real quick. I don't know if you've heard of Good Shepherd.
No, I don't think so.
It's basically for women experiencing domestic violence or financial stress.
Right.
This is basically no interest loans for those folks. So, and I met the marketing director on Twitter about 6 years ago, and we just hit it off, great conversations, and she just said, hey, I know you build websites. Why don't you help us build the next one? I said, yeah, sweet, awesome. So we got into it, and I'll just talk about one aspect. When someone is on the site and looking for support, they need a quick way to be able to leave the site.
True.
There's all that,
if the person comes in who has the violence,
that's
creates
right.
the violence,
and they see them trying to get out of the situation, then violence can happen.
Yeah.
So there was a button called the safe exit button. And I said, what's this? And we were redesigning it. And what's the safe exit button? And they said, well, it's so they can click the one button and they go to Google and they'll have like New Zealand Herald or stuff or something.
Some non-conspicuous website.
Yeah. It closes the tab they're on and opens two other ones. So it makes it really easy for them to leave the site and be safe. So that's something, accessibility and safety and equality too, and all that, just in one button.
Yeah.
And I thought that was marvelous. I was, it was a really good challenge too, just one, to make it work, and also to make it visible from an accessible standpoint and usable from the user standpoint. Yeah.
I don't think I've ever seen a website with a safe exit button, which is, I'm very lucky to not have to visit these sites. I guess that's a good, a sign for how privileged I am to not having had to access that. But we do need people like you think about what could we do if folks need that button.
And to be honest, I learned from them about that. It wasn't my idea.
Yeah.
And like you, I haven't had to experience that, luckily. But for people who have, they basically said this is really a vital feature. We can't lose this when we redesign the site. And so I was like, okay, I don't have a problem with that.
Yeah.
I'm happy to support that effort. Yeah.
And these, as soon as one person starts talking about, hey, we need to respect the needs of those groups, it starts sparking conversation for others. Let's say I was in a fancy hotel hospitality thing the other day, and I noticed when I used the restrooms, they had a poster, are you feeling unsafe? Is something going funny? Ask our staff for a red light drink. Have you heard of that one? No?
I've heard like angel wings.
Maybe it's another service then. Okay, yeah. So
Different
they had this thing called red light drink. Or they said, just take a photo of our logo, so you have it on your phone, show it to any of our staff, whether it's, anybody, whether in the restaurant or the hotel area, like anybody will understand red light, ask the barkeeper for a red light drink or show anybody our logo, and then they will not leave you, they will stay by your side and then make sure you get, a taxi, a friend to pick you up, make sure you're okay. So there are these little things that people start thinking about, keeping everybody safe, protected, informed, all that stuff. So cool.
Yeah. Yeah, it's sad, again, that's sad that we have to have that, but we really do still.
Yeah.
There's people who are taking advantage.
Yeah. So when you are now creating something new, you said you're writing a book. What is your creative process like? So no safe exit here. I want to say how you safely enter that process of, focus. And writing a book is, I find it difficult. I've done only one book so far, and I had a strategy of how I did that.
Yeah.
How do you go about it?
I'd ask you the same thing. I will.
You want to know my tricks?
Yeah.
A pro and con
because I've seen your
now.
book. It looks great.
Thank you.
I find it difficult. It's a major challenge, and anyone I've ever talked to or heard of that's written a book has said that. It's like it's one of the most challenging projects you can undertake, just because of, from what I can tell, you write it and then you're editing, and and the editing can be heartbreaking. Yeah. You write the perfect sentence and all of a sudden it's just out with the rubbish. So I think part of it is such a big task. When you say write a book, you think, oh, okay, I'll just write a few words, but then you get into it and you realize you start peeling back the layers and then trying to figure out what to not say.
Yes.
Because I could say so much. I think I'm writing this book basically about music. It's got a real musical bent and bass and all that, and sort of the history of bass and where it's come from. And you can go back, and I'm going back to Sumerian times.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Like really history.
Yeah. So there's a lot going on there.
Yeah.
So
trying to picturing the Sumerian, and and they're like, in my head, there's stone carving pictures of them. Then cranking out of.
They're incredible. Mainly because they're the first written word that we have that's survived, and they actually wrote about their music, and they wrote their songs down, and they wrote why they had music. Music was very sacred to them.
How did they use music?
Yeah, so they used it for.
I still want to hear about your book process.
Yeah. They used it for religious ceremonies. The musicians were highly prized, and they were traded for peace offerings. So if there was a neighboring state that wanted to attack, they would say, well, maybe instead of doing that, you could have one of our, they were called lyres, or lyre. I'm not quite sure how to say it, but
playing the lure or lyre.
The lyre, yeah. Like a harp,
yes.
like a harp, yeah.
Yes.
So they could trade one, and that would appease the aggressor.
Sweet.
Yeah.
A lullaby for warriors.
Yeah. And they had large instruments down to small, and the large ones had a bowl on them, and they were called the lyres of Ur. And the lyre was a bass instrument, And they can discover this because they found the metal parts of the instrument. Yeah. So
Ah.
and the impression of the wooden bits were there in the rock or the dirt where they found them.
Yeah.
So and it had this kind of ringing sort of sitar tone. But I found that fascinating. Like bass has been bass and bass music and drums and all that has been with us throughout, as long as we've had civilization and been collecting together. Yeah. But yeah, just like I say, like I'm all of a sudden I'm thinking about all this stuff, and I go, okay, I got to zoom back to how does that apply to the present day, you know?
And what would you, once somebody is reading your book, what would you want them to take away? Is it more the marvel and awe at, oh wow, you know, it has such a rich culture and history, or what would you like them to take away from it?
I think a lot of this is an exploration of why I love it, why I love bass, and there's a lot of personality that comes into it, and there's this history, and you kind of know intrinsically the magic of it, but you can't explain it. So I want to explain it and sort of describe it, not in a way that sort of ruins the ending, or you know, it's not a spoiler. You know,
just a companion, you know, not like a start, beginning, end thing.
Yeah, because because a lot of this is accidental. You know, how I described how I chose bass, or it really chose me, is what I'm saying. Because it was an opportunity. It was the one instrument that no one in the band was playing. And I was drawn to that, right? So it wasn't like I'm a bass player. It's like I became that. I've always been that, but I became that. And so I wanted to connect those things to make it a sort of a positive, proactive choice.
And to stand for equality, you know, all the other instruments haven't been picked, so I'll go with the bass.
So
everything's
Someone's
equal
got to
here.
do it. It might as well be me, you know?
So cool.
But I realized that I'd always appreciated bass too. You know, I was always turning the tone down in the car.
Yeah.
You know, the old speakers back in the day, not a lot of bass, but if you turn the tone down, you could really crank it and put your hand on the speaker.
Wait
and
for the
feel
car
that
to
bump,
be
bump,
buzzed
bump, bump.
forward.
Oh, we didn't even have that. You know,
Okay.
these tiny speakers. You just tried to get whatever bass you could out of it.
Yeah.
But
wow.
And
So
it's-
then, how do you put this whole Sumerians history, maybe some mythical? Why do people pick bass, or why does the bass pick the bassist? How do you structure your book in such a way that the reader can follow? Do you do it, you know, from the past to the now, or do you weave into some stories of how you picked it up? Like, how does this? How do I have to imagine the process that you go through?
Yeah, well, actually, I use an app called Miro first. So I've done this outline.
Yeah.
Kind of the sections. So
Merrill, like the shoe brand, or
Miro?
Miro.
M-I-R-O.
Oh,
Yeah,
Miro.
yeah,
Yes,
yeah,
I
yeah.
have heard of this.
Yeah,
I
yeah,
used
it's
it.
great for facilitation.
Yeah, it is.
And so I basically realized I had the core idea, but I wasn't sure how to get from A to B.
Yeah.
A to Z. And so I said, well, why don't I talk about my experience first? Just kind of, okay, this is how I got into it. And then, okay, now we're going to go back and see why this is important. And so starting from that Sumerian and coming forward
Gotcha.
through
So
time.
Personal connection
Yeah.
first through the story, and
Yeah.
then zoom
Yeah.
all the way back, and then carry it forward to the now.
Yeah. And I even found that around the Dark Ages, everything just fell apart. I mean, you had small portable instruments. No one was sitting around in a parlor.
True.
You know, because life was tough. I mean, you know, Black Plague and all sorts
Could
of
just
things.
sneak a little flute in your pocket,
Yeah.
and
Yeah,
lucky if
yeah.
that stays with you for a while.
Yeah. You kind of were keeping your head down. You
Yeah.
know, from what I've read through the historical texts. You know.
Yeah.
So, but also to keep some focus, like not trying to stay too much in the, and then this happened, and then that happened, and then this happened, but to try to say, well, this is really important because it's always been with us. And while the electric bass is a really new instrument, it's probably less than 100 years old. It's part of that timeline.
Yeah.
So my reader is either someone who wants to play bass or already does and doesn't really know why still.
Interesting.
Yeah.
So it is like a revelation for them to dive into some of either your story or ancient stories or mythologies around the instrument and its unique reverberation. Because I'm not sure how much you are open or into spirituality topics. There is so I geeked out on sound healing for a while. You know, went really into the rabbit hole of which, you know, I started to see patterns. You know, when I looked at the ancient Italians, and they have the sol, la, mi, fa, you know, they have these words, which is their tones. And then you look at the Indian side of things, and they also have their chants, Lam, Vam, Ram. They have their own little things. And when you overlap the frequencies, they're actually the same. So I'm like, wow, Western and Eastern discovered similar principles and just, called them different names. And with the base, so I started mapping out this whole gigantic spreadsheet of here are the chakras, and here are the sound frequencies, and here are the colors that some people associate with them, and here are the fruits and vegetables that go with certain things, and also the physical symptoms. And they can actually, so for example, your instrument, the bass, it belongs to the group of the root instruments. So the root chakra is the one that's color red. It's about grounding and rhythm, clearly. You provide the structure and the rhythm and the foundation. And so often it's being said that when people have their root chakra out of balance, and that shows up as not belonging anywhere, not having a safe, grounded foundation, having your head in the clouds every time, having financial fears, having lower back pain. So all these things come under that clump of frequency, and the bass can heal that. So if people are out of their balance, no sense of belonging, they have to play something with really low bass going on, or that sort of bass is this beautiful mix of having rhythm like a drum, like very poignant, but it also has the melodic aspect of that next level, the sacral chakra, which has to do with fluidity and water and creativity and sexuality, creation, that stuff. So your bass is almost bridging those two, stability and being playful. And having melody almost in the bass as well, not just rhythm. So.
That's awesome. It's like you've read my book already.
Have you written about it?
A little bit? Yeah, just with different parts of the body resonate with different frequencies.
Yes.
So there's a lot of bass. There's a lot of bass in here, and some in the skull, and some in your gut. As you know.
Oh.
So it's almost like the bass, like you say, it reproduces those frequencies and resonance, and can be really pleasurable. It can also be really intimidating. So they use bass drums and and making a lot of noise. A really collaborative and concerted effort to make that bass sound like coming at you, on the battlefield, for example.
Well, sorry for mansplaining the chakras to you. If you've already written about all of this.
No, that's amazing. No, you have a thought about something, and you're just hoping that it's right, and sometimes confirmation is everything,
Cool.
So it's wonderful to have that confirmation about that.
So if you had to bring all your passions together, one is the digital nomad who loves exploring, one is the dedicated writer who has to do the research and also go into some topics really deep. So you've got the music, you've got the digital nomad and traveling, you've got being a father and being a husband. There's a bunch of worlds in just these words alone. And user design experience of a software, a technological goodie. Where are you taking those skills and talents next? Like, what is your next playing ground? Who are some people you would love to work with or work for or make stuff with?
Yeah. No, great question. I think we were talking about this before, and I'll add to that. I kind of see everything as being either the same or really similar. So like with visual design and sound design, I'm seeing the same thing.
Yes.
Part of it's patterns, but the other part of it is sort of the space between those and the frequencies. So like sound and light really go together for me.
Yes.
So I think where I'm headed with that is trying to, like I've been told I should be a counselor. I get people to talk quite a lot, So it's like I'd like to combine those things that I really do naturally even more into what I do.
Yeah.
I think in the digital realm you tend to have less contact with people, ironically, because you're at the keyboard and you're building your software and designing it and all that, and it takes more effort to sort of cross that boundary and get to where the people are.
Yeah.
So I've been thinking a lot about like what you do. Another person, Michael Philpott, is. He does presentational.
Speaker coach, eh?
Yeah. He does presentational skill and storytelling, and I think just working on as an example, storytelling. I tend to sort of go, hey, I saw this thing, and then it doesn't always come back to like, and here's why I'm telling you this story.
Yeah.
So
it's an ENFJ problem.
Yeah, exactly. So for me, trying to close that loop back again and make it, how is it relevant to the person I'm talking to? And I think doing more of that is where I want to go. Yeah.
So when it comes to a specific industry, have you got a preference for, hey, if let's say if you wanted to leave your current job and start somewhere else and create a product you really believe in, or support an organization you feel, fire in your belly for, are there any names or regions, like industries, clumps of interest groups popping up in your brain when you hear that?
I'm working on that, to be honest.
Are you?
Yeah, because I think I'm looking for something. I mean, I would love to build like an app that helps people somehow.
Sure.
But I think I need to do some more thinking on that,
Yeah.
like how that would look.
Yeah.
I think I found some help with AI apps like Claude, for example. So I'm having this particular challenge, communication challenge.
Yeah.
And it's been really helpful. And to the point where it was so helpful, like I could actually learn from that. You have to be careful and sort of know what you're asking about. And if it's too serious, you really should probably talk to a person instead.
Yeah.
But these are things like, hey, I'm trying to make an adjustment here in how I communicate. And it was really helpful.
Yeah.
So something like that.
Right.
Bringing people together, languages. I mean, it's almost like I've got too many interests. I just have to pick three.
It's still good to talk about these, let it be 5 or 6 passion topics, because there is some overlap between all of them. Like you said, there is some connection. Your job is to uncover and strip it down to what is it actually about this topic that I love, and this and this and this, and then just weave it. What you said before, I'm a counselor in a way, and I'm also designing what I'm, passionate about, and I'm also understanding the power of AI, but also the pitfalls of being absorbed into, maybe lured into false guidance, or you ask,
just lured in general.
Ask a Claude or Chat, whichever AI's choice. You ask it some questions. You can't just fully go all in on whatever it spits out. It hallucinates at times, so I've learned the hard way. I went into the rabbit hole for a bit. I still use it extensively for certain parts of my work now, but I don't let it play with other parts where the gut is for. That's where I need different decision-making factors.
And that's your unique proposition and what's unique about you.
Yeah, and coming back to what's unique about you, having all these things, maybe you are that person who is the facilitator, space holder, counselor for people or musicians or whoever to explore what they want to build. And so you can be the mentor or the guardian to enable them to create, design, play music, write the book, whatever it is. But it becomes a container that you hold, under a human guidance, so to speak. So when you were speaking, I could see you exploring some of those strings and where they lead. Who knows, right?
Yeah,
you didn't know when you packed your backpack and your kids and your wife where this 2 year. You didn't even know it would be a 2-year journey. At the start. You were just like, what do we need? Money, health, a good backpack.
And honestly, it felt more complicated than that. But that really boiled down to that.
Yeah.
I think the complication was how I was viewing it. I'm like, we're leaving all this behind. How do I leave this job that I actually like pretty well? And, and then, like I was saying before, like, how can I be in a place and not experience it? But it all just kind of fell away once you take that first step. And it's even helping people take that first step. That it's like in helping them see what it could be. And you've taught me a bit about that already, where, where you're just like, what's the...
Puzzling.
Kind of like what's, if you're a list maker, maybe you need to either do more of that or less, depending on, in your matrix that you were talking about, just to kind of help guide. Because, that's something that is hard to reproduce, because you're taking in so much from someone that isn't, you can't just type like I'm a sensitive extroverted person.
No, this is irreplaceable.
I mean, we've just spent, I don't know how many tens of thousands of hours it would take to try to train some model in what this is. And would it even approximate what we're experiencing right now? Probably not.
Probably not.
Just the facts and the outlines of it.
And it's the same with this thing. I mean, this is nice, but it's just a framework. I wanted people to... So my core principle that underlies all of that would be the know thyself, the Greek word know thyself, and that really say to people, well, that's step 1 of everything you will ever do, know thyself. Figure out who you are. And if you're a list maker, be the craziest list maker in the planet. Why not? As long as you're not doing any harm. That's like, I don't like human rules. I like universal law. Do no harm, do what you love, done. We don't need a lot of traffic rules if we respect those, right? But we need them because people like details. So, but let's say you're going crazy on the list making. write a book on list making, the different types, the ways you use, digital, physical, how long can they be, you know, how many lists are you allowing yourself per day?
How much is too much?
Go all in. Like, I totally support people's crazy if they're really all in on a topic, if they're obsessed with bass playing and history. Like, people who are obsessed are very attractive to me because they burn for something. It's sexy to see someone going all in on a cool thing. Whatever this thing is, I don't care, you know, paint flower pots, like do your thing, but do it all in. That's attractive, and people will feel that. If you wrote a book about bass just because you found out that it will sell very well because everybody's jumping on bass right now, it won't work. You won't have that, you know, the diligence and the sitting power to just spend hours and hours typing and you know, editing.
That'll weave into all the words you write as well. It's like,
think so.
Yeah, this is a profitable venture. You know, it's like, no, that's not why we're doing this, because how it feels. And, What's a question back to your day job or your profession in terms of user design and experience for people? What is a question you wish people would ask designers more? That's really good. Almost anything, really. I think
they don't respect my opinion ever.
Yeah, I think there's this real thing right now, especially with AI, where we're using it to try to shed workers.
Yes.
When I think we should use it to try to like 10x each person.
Yes.
So you have 10 people, make each person go 10x instead of taking out 9 people and having that one person go 10x.
And an average AI design something,
So it's like, let's keep the people. You hired the people for a reason. Like you were talking about this before, where you're like, okay, I see something in you, and when we add you to us, then we become this bigger whole than we were before. But it always seems that something new comes along, and we always think about, well, what can we cut? What can we take off? And it's usually the people working for the company. And I saw this back in the day when you know, the internet comes along and printing starts dying and things like that. And working in this industry, you know, you're riding waves. So with tech, so that's how I've gotten into design of software, is really from print design, seeing the web and going, oh, something's coming. And so like I learned how to do web design and development. And okay, good choice, you know. Printing hasn't gone, but it doesn't dominate like it did. So, and every time these waves happen, it's trying to realize, how can we use this tool to improve things? Like, you know, what do they say? I don't want AI to do my art. I want it to do my chores so I can do more art, you know? So I love that. So I think asking me, like, how do we keep our people and be more efficient and help more people?
Yes.
You know, I mean, that's what I'm here for.
Yeah.
So I think as that happens, anytime that happens, then I feel like, okay, I'm really, like, all the cylinders are locked in. Yeah.
So in what way would you say has AI 10x'd you and your skills and your capabilities? What do you mainly use it for? And then, you know, do you have your favorites? You mentioned Claude before.
Well, I spoke about this earlier in the year at a UX meetup, and I use AI to code. I code anyway, but it speeds that up. So I can have a design idea, and rather than being in some design app like Figma or whatever, I can basically say, Copilot or Claude or whatever, I want to build something, can you do this? And then make sure it does these things and saves the state and, you know, lets me remember and move things around. And I give it a bunch of specs, and then it spits something out. And then I can say, oh, that's not quite right. And developers are actually enjoying this too, where they say, well, this can make it easier for me to try things quickly. So I think what AI does really well is when you give it some instructions, very specific instructions that you know very well yourself, then it can really speed you up by leaps and bounds. Yeah.
So cool you're saying this. It really echoes something I hear more and more recently, that, you know how you mentioned it before, we used to say, oh, you got to spend 10,000 hours on something and then you're an expert. Now the status, you know, the new words that I heard around that, it's not 10,000 hours because you could do the same thing over and over. Doesn't necessarily mean you get better. But they say jokingly 10,000 iterations, you know. You develop something and then you can use AI to go, oh, what would this look like if, you know, we changed one parameter or something. And then you got the next iteration and you learn from this and the next one. Just as I'm learning from each interview I'm doing here, What do people want to talk about? What do people want to, see or complain about? Or like I pick up these little things, and then the next interview I can iterate, and so it gets so much faster, so much better because of the iteration, the little pivoting, the little tweaking, shaping, moving, polishing.
Yeah.
So for a designer who has seen from print to online to now AI supported, you must have died a few deaths in your career.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
But again, it's sort of like I see it all the same. It's all the same to me. It's colors and lights and shapes and frequencies and what's the goal and did we accomplish
words.
that? Yeah. And we were talking about typing earlier. My mom, her dad told her, if you learn how to type, you'll always have a job. and she told me that as a kid. And I remember practicing, and she's an amazing typist. She's like 100 words a minute, maybe 110, on an off day. I'm about 80, maybe 90. But she told me the same thing. She told me that story. She said, learn how to type. And I said, okay, I'm like 9 years old, 8 years old, learning how to type. On these IBM Selectric typewriters.
JK.
And guess what? I'm still typing today.
It's true. Although you can do a lot with speech, you can talk to some apps, and it's better for some people who are, where there's lots of neurodiversity seems to pop up now. Either it's better diagnosed, or we have more people with that. Who knows? But there are many, many who are dyslexic, who really dislike the process of typing. They rather, speak it out and let the, the what's it called?
Transcription?
ABC, spelling, spell checkers. That's the word. Spell checkers do their thing. So interesting how you picked up on some of those core skills that don't go away.
It's funny because when you ask about my job, I tell my kids, I type on the keyboard and I click a mouse all day.
Yeah,
that's what I do.
That's what they need to know.
It's an oversimplification of all the knowledge and expertise that I've built. And I try to draw on that. Okay, I've seen this problem before, and things repeat. No matter what tools we create, we've got the same problems to solve. Where we're trying to take information and shape it and make it do something.
Have you noticed a similar thing? So what I've learned about myself when I use a lot of screen time, let's say writing, editing, creating content, coaching workshops, like if I'm designing experiences for people or books or whatever, I often feel that I haven't achieved anything because I'm just clicking my mouse. I'm just moving a few pixels. It can feel extremely draining to do that process. I still am excited about the outcome, but it doesn't feel as as if I chop a tree or dig out a garden, dig a garden bed. Have you noticed similar things? And if yes, I'm probably, you're already nodding. So how do you go about this feeling of accomplishment, achievement, seeing what you have done? Like, what does that for you in your life?
Yeah, I think I was talking before about, and you asked me, what would I want to be asked in my role? And I think it's that connection with people. Like you finish something, it's finished, but you don't really see the end result. You might get some trickle back of, they like this and they're using it now. As opposed to like, how did it actually help them do what they need to do? Feedback. Like when you chop down a tree, you've got a real obvious feedback. The tree's gone now, or it fell over and you got to see that. Yeah,
and turn it into something.
Yeah, I built the table. Yeah, exactly. So I think that 3 things list is part of my chopping down the tree, where I kind of go, yes, I did that, I did that. Because I can't always expect that I'm going to get feedback
from the people.
Back. Yeah,
that's
from the
why.
people I'm helping, you know. So I think, tree.
Yeah.
I mean, poor
Three
tree.
trees today.
Poor trees. I'm not out there chopping a lot of trees, but you know what I mean. It's true. It's like I get a lot of satisfaction just being in the garden or painting the house, or we've been renovating my house for the last couple of years and on and off. And
putting things in the skip feels good, eh?
Yeah. I can look at the front of my house and know that I painted it. I fixed all the weatherboards. Cut out all the rot and the borer. And,
you got a weatherboard house?
Yeah.
It's a journey.
Yeah, and then you realize too that borer never goes away. No, it's always
they moved in without paying rent.
You think so? Okay, so I've gotten rid of it. No, you never get rid of it, and so then you accept that. And I think we were talking earlier about acceptance.
Yeah.
And you think, well, this is part of life. Bore and decay and
keeps you
maintenance.
Humble.
Yeah. You don't get complacent. You can feel proud about like at least upgrading temporarily your house and with new wood on the front.
That's so cool. This is obviously a very tangible and visible result if you do any home-related task. And I think that's also when I asked you about the work project that stood out. You mentioned the Good Shepherd, right? So hearing from these women, yes, that button is important because, and then they give you that emotionally charged story that goes with it, you know. So it will stick with you for forever, right? As long as you craft in your way.
Yeah.
So there was a book you mentioned, which I'm very fond of as well, called The War of Art. And what did it do for you? What was the effect it had?
I think being a perfectionist, that was stopping me from creating, you know? So I went years, I had a burst when I was in my 20s, writing, recording, just to a 4-track and tapes, you know? And then just sort of stopped, and I was playing covers bands, and those are fine and all that. Having a lot of fun, but I wasn't really creating anything, you know, any legacy. I'll call it legacy. It sounds like it's ego-driven, but it's really not. It's more like, what do I have to show for my experience on the planet, you know? So reading that book told me that I have to get through, I'll just be blunt, get through the crap first. Yeah. You know? So, and I was so concerned about, but it's crap. I wasn't letting myself get through that.
Because the perfectionist doesn't have crap.
This isn't going to get on the radio, you know? No one's going to listen to this, you know? But once that book gave me license to do that, it was very freeing, you know? I'm still working on that, but I've been able to put out an album. I'm writing more stuff. And even helps me make decisions. You know, if I start playing music with someone and they say, well, no, we're only going to play my songs. To me, that's not really what I'm into anymore. Like, I want to collaborate or I want to create. Yeah. You know, or
legacy stuff.
Some version of that, you know, and that's fine. You know, I've had to leave bands because of it. Just like, well, I'm not really getting what I need out of this. And honestly, I should probably look inward. Like you were saying, know thyself, you know? I was feeling this rising sense of dissatisfaction. And what that book showed me was like, well, here's why. You know, you have some things that you need to get out. Yeah. And you're not doing that, you know? So, yeah, that's what that book taught me.
You can't really create freely if that crap is still in there and you haven't dealt with it.
Yeah. What you make is just a shadow of what it could be, you know? It's not really you. It's kind of like, I'm frustrated, you know? I'm held back, you know? And the music sounds that way, too.
Yeah,
you know?
It's those pieces that artists put out that I call should pieces. I should write this book. I should write this post. Like, yeah, but I can feel that you wrote it from that place of should, not of, wow, got something to share. Do you think that's cool as well? Here's what I think.
The unbridled excitement. Yeah.
And I also heard, and it will be interesting for you, I guess, because you're writing your book. Is your first book you're writing? Yes. So I probably can relate now. I heard that the first book an author writes is the one they need to read. So maybe you're writing, like you said, maybe you're just writing this book for you, and whoever reads it after that, great, you know, but there's no need to convince, this book should sell. Yeah, no,
but it's so true. Yeah, it really is. I mean, I think I alluded to that before, but it really is a personal journey. And me asking, like, why do I like this so much, you know, and not knowing the answer, and no one else that I can tell really talking about it. Yeah. The one book that's close, like, I don't know if you had this when you're writing yours, like you see another book come out and you go, I hope it doesn't cover what I'm writing about, you know?
Kind of,
Yeah. For me, like, I've had a book came out and it was called The Bastard Instrument. Okay. And it had a bass, the headstock of a bass on it. Yeah. And I just read the premise of it. And I thought it was really cool because he took a different angle. Right. Like, bass is a young instrument, and for a while it really was sort of looked down upon. You know, the upright bass is the real bass.
Oh,
you know?
Okay.
And
I didn't know that.
Yeah, so the electric bass was new. It was only used for pop music and the sort. And if you tried to bring that to a jazz gig, you'd get laughed off the stage. Gotcha. They say, what are you doing with that newfangled electric stuff, right? So he started with that premise, and so I'm like, phew, he's not writing what I'm writing about. But I kind of hoped at the same time that he would go there. Yeah. You know, like, why do we play this bastard instrument, right? It's a catchy title, but you know, that's what it means to me. Is that, like, it veered a little bit away from the norm, right? Yeah.
So now you can cover the other topics.
Yeah.
That's good.
Yeah. So it really is. I mean, it really is for me. I'll get it out and see who it resonates with.
You never know.
Yeah. And I won't ever know if I never put it out. Yeah. So and it's honestly, it's been a couple years where I'm still been kind of tinkering with it and just need to carve out some space to really do it and commit to it. So that's the next thing, is commit to it.
And the experience that people have, like, again, as a designer, you design experiences, you design journeys for people, you kind of steer where their eyes and their clicks go. And with a book, you probably do in a similar way. You design this through words. And if you maybe do an audiobook, you can have some sound in the background and even steer that experience in this way. So you never know who resonates with this. When I wrote my book, it was never meant to go somewhere like beyond crazy. So I wrote it for me. I figured out a way to write it in a way that makes sense for a reader and for me. So I was very proud of having achieved that mental task. And then when I launched it, it went to the Amazon top 7. And when I saw that, I was like, this is ridiculous, and just some of my people bought it. And it is more about the results that the response that comes from people who get touched in whatever way. Maybe that chapter really got them, or that chapter resonated with them. And so when you are writing a book that has all these different things, your personal experience, and then Sumerian history, and then maybe the big bass and the little bass, which I had no idea. I know this as contrabass, and I never made the link. They're the same, of course, they're the same instrument. And so every person who reads your book will get something different out of it. At different times too. When I read The War of Art the first time, and I was a full-on perfectionist, and it really hit me, like, you're just procrastinating, girl. Like, yeah, I am. Because it's more fun to fix, a dash and a colon and a comma than to actually just spill your guts and just let the world play with it. And so I really loved how this book, for example, gave me different punches to the face at different types of my journey. And I'm sure if I read it again next month, next year, it will have the same effect on me in a different flavor. And I think your book can do the same for people.
That's cool.
And some people might pick up the bass because of your book. And they
that's
might be
my
friends
hope.
with you and just read the book because they're your friend. But then they go, actually, there might be a musician journey that I'm supposed to go on. And Nathaniel just opened that door for me and gave me a little manual.
That's so cool. It reminds me of what I was talking about with my kids and their perspective. They look back on this trip and they're learning more with that new perspective.
Absolutely.
Which is something I didn't realize could happen. And I think that getting punched in the face, like I'm not one to reread books. I've already read that.
Some are so good when you reread them.
But now I'm really agreeing with what you're saying right now, which is like, I could read The War of Art again next week and probably get something new out of it, which I didn't have a concept of before. Which was part of me holding myself back and perfectionism and being sort of stuck in like, well, here I am and change, no change. Kind of ironic from someone who loves to be spontaneous,
Within Saturday at 4, I can be spontaneous.
I'll be spontaneous right now.
I think also The War of Art is very good for rereading because it has these very short, succinct little chapters, so you don't need to really dive into a full storyline and finish the whole book and spend hours on it to get that little oomph. Sometimes you just randomly open it at a different chapter and go, that's probably the one I need now. So that's how I go about it. I use a book like an oracle. And so that can be helpful. It's a good reminder for me to reread it again. I haven't read it in 3-4 years probably, if not more. So I'll pick it up again as well.
Nice. Nice.
So we will definitely make sure to put in where people can connect with you and either your LinkedIn or your website. So we'll make sure to put everything into the notes so you can be connected with bass players, nomadic families, designers who also code, who are not afraid that AI is going to take their job away, but rather work hand in hand with it and use gut feeling and lists to round it all up.
Nice. That sounds perfect.
Any final comments, any shout outs, any comments you want to make to the world? If people see something you want to say?
Well, I love what you just said. It's the people contacting you that you don't know either need to hear what you have to say or wanted to, or it resonated with them somehow. And that's something I'm trying to keep going. We can lose that in these days where you have an idea and you don't know if anyone else thinks the same way or wants to even carry on that conversation. So if this creates those conversations and some of that comes back, then that's what I'm here for.
That's why you are here. You
Yeah.
reached out to some of the stuff I
Yeah.
put out there, and you said, "Hey, blah 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 blah
Yeah,
blah,"
yeah,
and we both
yeah.
just message
I
back
give-
and forth.
I
I'm like,
give
"Hey,
what I get,
he's cool. He's consistent. He has interesting viewpoints."
Yeah, yeah.
And I think the one thing I noticed about you is you don't shy away from controversy. People are just like you said. You see a lot of overlap, or it's all the same when you actually zoom out. So I think with an open mind like this and all these very colorful different experiences you already had, you will have no trouble attracting others who are in the same bass frequency as you.
Awesome, thank you. I mean, the audiobook sounds really appealing, actually. Like
It would work for
giving
you.
tones for, you hear this, what do you feel? Yeah. That interactive experience, you've given me some good ideas.
You might even enjoy and probably know Derek Sivers.
I've heard the name.
Oh, okay. Started CD Baby, and then now writes and speaks and does it in such a succinct way that you just have nothing but respect for him. So he's like musician / coder / writer, and it all works. Like if you start seeing how his skills and strengths play with each other, you'll get inspired. And his audiobook versions,
cool.
he speaks them, records them in, has some musical elements in there, and just you will probably enjoy not only his personal journey but also looking at the construction of whatever art he puts out there.
So cool. Yeah, I want to learn how to mix things more.
Yeah.
Yeah. Get different colors I never thought of.
Yeah, that would have been my last question. What's something you're looking forward to learning? So yes, there we go. I think
cool.
this is a beautiful conversation. So I want to thank you for coming here. Now the sun is just coming out after our deep dive into rainy topics. And,
no, thanks for having me. This has been amazing. I could probably talk all day and even more. So yeah, thanks for all of this. It's
sounds
great.
awesome.
Yeah.
Cheers. All right.
Thank you.
Thank you.